Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Asanat. Welcome back to this series, part 2 of this series, where I'm showing you everything you need to know from the parts of a single bare knitting machine to knitting your first garment. If you haven't seen the first part where I showed you the parts of the knitting machine you need to know, the two easiest methods to me on how to cast on, how to knit, the mechanism of knitting, and how to pass your yarn through, then you should check that part out. In today's part, I'm going to be showing you how to increase, decrease, and how to knit partially. If you are interested to see all of that, then you should keep on watching. So there are a couple of reasons why you need to increase or decrease your garments as you are knitting. Say for instance, you are knitting a skirt and you want to increase around the hips. You'll be adding more needles to the needles that you already have casted on, just to increase to accommodate for the hips. Or if you are making a bell sleeve and you want your sleeve to flare out at the arm or even around the elbow, that's one of the reasons why you might need to increase. Also, for decreasing, if you are trying to shape your garments around a particular part of your body, say you are knitting from bottom up and you want to reduce the number of needles around your waist to cinch in your waist, you also need to reduce the number of needles that you already have going on the machine. So that's another reason why you might need to reduce or decrease your needle rather. Then for partial knitting, if you have seen this video, I taught you guys how to knit a simple pair of pants on the knitting machine. You will know that if you've seen the video, you will know that there's a part where I showed you how to partial knit, so that some parts of your needles knit and some parts don't knit, as it says in the name, partial knitting. So one of the reasons why you might need to partial knit or knit partially is if you are making a pair of pants. You know, when you pick up a pair of pants, the front part of the pants is typically lower than the back. So you need partially to have a difference in height of your garment, from like you are knitting a row, a difference in height. I hope that makes sense. Let me reword that. So when you're making a pair of pants, you know that the front part of your pants is usually lower. Let me show you. The front part of your pants is usually lower than the back, just to accommodate for the bum. So for partial knitting, if I'm knitting the same number of rows here, I would partially knit, so to make this part shorter and make this part longer. That's one of the reasons why you might need to knit partially. Another reason why you might need to knit partially is if you're making a v-neck garment like I have going on here. So you knit partially one side, then you go back to knit the other side. So I'll explain all of this to you guys in this video. So I think that's about it. Oh, another thing is you can decrease one needle at a time or multiple needles at a time. You can also increase one needle at a time or multiple needles at a time. For the short rows as well, you can partially knit one needle at a time or multiple needles at a time. So that's another thing that you should keep in mind. So I'm going to be showing you the simplest method to do all of this for you to be able to knit your first garment. So let's get into it. As you can see here, I have 20 needles on both sides. So a total of 40 needles on my needle bed already knitted. I've knitted a couple of rows as well. So I'm going to show you how to decrease. Okay, so let's say you want to decrease one needle at a time. All you need to do is to use this tool, the one prong side of the needle. You place it, for instance, if the needle is latched up like this, you open the latch like so. You place the latch over the needle, pull. So when you pull, you can see now that the stitch has moved back because your latch slid back for you to be able to do that. Then you push. So now you have that stitch on this transfer tool. Then the next thing you need to do is to move it onto the next needle. So this is where we are picking the stitch from, and I am moving it onto the next needle, and so I will knit after that. So I have officially reduced one needle on this side of my project. So let's say I'm reducing another needle on the other side. Again, I'm going to use my transfer tool, the one that has one side. If I want to reduce 3 needles at a time, I'll use the 3. I can use the 3, but for the basic, I'm showing you how to do this one. So I'm going to pull 1, push, and I've moved the needle onto my transfer tool, and I'm going to move it onto the next needle. So if the pattern say reduce 1 every 4, so we have reduced 1, I've done 1 row, 1, 2, 3, 4. On my 4th row, I'm going to again move this last stitch by pulling pushing, and then my stitch is on the transfer, so I'm going to transfer it to the next. So I'm going to do this one. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Push, I mean pull, push, and then transfer, and then 2, 3, 4. So that is how you decrease one needle on the single bed knitting machine. If you need to decrease 2 needles at a time, you can use your transfer tool that has 2 prongs. I hope I'm saying that right. So the same thing, you're going to place the prongs on the needles. So I've done that for 2 needles in this case, you can see. Then you pull the 2 needles, your latch will automatically open. That will allow your stitches to go to the back of the needle. Then push. So now I have the 2 needles, I have the 2 stitches rather on my prong. Then I'm going to move it to the next 2, like so. So that's how you decrease for 2. If you need to decrease for 3, it's the same thing. You're going to use this side that has 3. You pick 3 stitches, pull, push, and then move to the next 3. I just dropped a stitch. You have to be careful not to do that, but I can easily place that back. And using the method I showed you in the part 1 of this video, I'm going to knit the extra stitch I dropped, like so, and then knit. So that is one method to decrease. Before I show you another method to decrease using this lash tool, I'm going to show you how to increase if you are increasing one needle at a time, since we have this fabric going on. So if you are increasing one needle at a time, all you need to do is to pull one needle out all the way, like so, and make sure that your lever is on 1 or on knit and not on old, because if it's on 2 or old, it will not knit this needle that is all the way to the front, like so. So I'm going to make sure that it's on knit. I will explain all of this to you later in this video, but I'm just showing you. So this is how you increase for one needle at a time. So I'm just going to move my needle to the front one at a time, and then I'll knit. I can also do the same thing on the other side, one needle at a time and knit. So it has knitted this, and it has also picked up for this. So when I move my carriage again, you can see that it has knitted. Again, all you need to do is to pull one needle out at a time, and then you knit. So if the pattern says to increase one needle every 2, so all you need to do is just to do this one needle at a time and knit. I like to increase or decrease on the opposite side of the carriage. So let's say my carriage is on my right. In this case, I will increase or decrease on the left. That's just a personal preference for me. So this is how you increase one needle at a time. So now I'm going to show you how to decrease multiple needles. So I typically use this method when I'm shaping the armhole. So let's say this is a vest and I have gotten to the armhole. I want to decrease for the armhole. So I will show you a very rough sketch here so you can see visually what I'm talking about. Don't mind my sketch too much. So let's say you are making this top and you are knitting bottom up, and you have gotten to the part where you are going to decrease for the armhole. So I'm going to decrease multiple needles at a time. So how I do that is I use my lash tool. So let's say I want to decrease a total of 5 needles for the armhole. I can decide at the first round I'm going to decrease 3 needles at first. So I'm going to use my lash tool. Let me bring you guys closer for this. Okay, this is how you use your lash tool to decrease multiple needles. So all you need to do is to put your lash tool under the stitch, like so. You can see this loop here underneath here. I'm going to put my lash tool, hook it onto it like this. Maybe I'll use my lash to secure it. Then I move my needle to the front and back. So you can see that that stitch is now on this. So to do this, just like crocheting, I'm going to move the next needle onto the lash tool. I hope you guys can see underneath, like so. So now you can see that we have two, one at the back of the lash two, one in front. So I move my needle to the front and back, so I have two. And then when I pull through, that way I have casted off one. This is also one way to cast off. I'm going to be showing you in the next part. So now I have reduced two needles. I'm going to go into the third and do the same thing. I move the needle, I move the stitch onto the lash two with the previous stitch at the back and the life one in front, like so. You can see the previous one is at the back underneath the latch, and then the life one is inside the hook here. The lash is securing it. So I move my needle to the front and back, and so I have the two here, and I pull through like so. So now that I have this one, since I said I want to reduce three needles at a time, I'm just going to move it onto this and place it onto that needle. So you can see that I have reduced three needles here. You can see this looks like an edge that has been reduced. So then I go to the other side and do the same thing. So again, I move my needle, I pull my fabric down. You can see this loop here. I move my lash tool into that loop like so. You can see it's secured there. I'm push and pull, then I have the first one in. I now move it down underneath the lash. So this is no longer a life stitch. To now pick up the life stitch, the next needle, I'm going to move that one into the lash too, while the older one will be below it. So I move and I push and pull. Now I have two, you can see, then I pull through. So just like crocheting, I do that the third time. Since I'm doing three needles, you can see the previous stitch is now at the back of the lash too, and then the new one, the life one, is in between or inside the lash too itself, secured by the lash too. Then I push and pull, so I have both of them there, and then I pull through just like you would do if you were crocheting. So once I pull through, I move it to the back as again, I move it to the back, so it's no longer a live stitch. I now move it to the next needle that I want to be placing it on, like so. So if you want to do 5, 10, 6 using the lash tool, this is how you decrease using the lash tool. So then I knit. So like I was saying, for the armhole, if I wanted to reduce 5 needles in total, I would split it up to 3, then 2. So back to this place where I've reduced 3 before, or the previous row, I will now reduce 2 needles. So you can see I'm doing the same thing, push, pull, then I move the stitch to the back, close my latch, and then I move my lash to underneath the second one. So now I have two, you can see I have 2 loops. I pull and then I have decreased. So if this was shaping of the armhole, you can see that decrease, those needle decreases, you can see them here. So then I knit, then I go back to the other side and do the same, 2 needles. If I continue to knit, you will see. So I typically use this one for my armhole decrease. You can see this looks like the illustration I showed. So now, before I show you how to partial knit or to do partial knitting, what I'm going to do now is show you how to increase multiple needles. So remember I said that if you want to increase one needle at a time, what you need to do is to move one needle to the front, one at a time, like so. But here, to increase multiple needles, your carriage needs to be on the side where you want to increase. So where the yarn is coming from the yarn feeder. So if I want to increase more than multiple needles, I need to increase on this side, because this is where my yarn is coming from. So let's say I need to increase 4 needles at a time, 2, 4. So I have my 4 needles out now. If you knit this just by moving the carriage, it will not knit. So what you need to do is to wrap this like the e-wrap method I showed you in the first part. So you see 1, 2, underneath, over, underneath, over. I'll show you that again. So multiple needles, you cast it on like you would like the beginning of the project. So underneath, you can see I'm using my right hand to wrap. My left hand is securing it underneath like so. So I put my yarn through 2 needles, under, over, the next needle, under, over, under, over, under, over. So the excess yarn I'm going to just pull and make sure that everything is secure. Then I knit. So this is how you knit multiple needles. You can see that it has been knitted. Then if I'm doing the same thing here, I'm going to move out 4 needles. Let's say I'm increasing 4 needles again. But now this one, you're going to be wrapping it backwards. So like this. Like this. You still underneath, over, but backwards, since your carriage is on the other side. Then you pull your excess yarn, and this is how you increase. So now, because this one is like you are casting on, you need to weigh it down so that it does not fly off the needles. That's where you use your claw weight. Let me grab my claw weight and show you. I just broke a nail trying to grab my claw weight. But this is what they look like. I don't really use them because I find that they stretch out my fabric more than I would like. But I'm going to use this in this case just to show you. I need to weigh this down. If not, it will not knit. This last 4 needles I just casted on. So I'm just going to, if I can even use it safe. Okay. So mine is a little botched. It's not perfect. So I have weighed this down. So it's not going anywhere. Then I'm going to knit this other side as well. You have to exert some pressure because you have the claw clip on the carriage, on the middle bed. I'm going to do the same thing here and weigh this side down too, and then I will knit. So that is how you would increase multiple needles at a time. I use this multiple needle increase for when I knit pants or shorts for the crotch. If you have seen that video, you know what I'm talking about. So that is the second method I'm going to show you to increase for multiple needles. So now I'm going to show you how to, this thing is really stuck there. I'm going to show you how to, I almost broke another nail. I'm going to show you how to knit partially or short rows. Okay, so this is how you partial knit. So first you need to look at your carriage. For this example I'm showing you, or your counter rather, it is currently on 14. Then the next thing you need to do is to move your knob from 1 to 2 or knit to old, depending on what your machine says. So let's say this is our fabric and I want to make a v-neck. What I need to do is I'll come to this counter here or the tape measure here. You can see that it's on 0. I'm going to move all the needles on this side. Since my carriage is on the other side, it's on my right side. I'm going to move all the needles on the left to the front. So what this will do, what moving my knob from 1 to 2 will do is that all these needles in front here will not knit because I have moved my knob to old position. So now if I'm making a v-neck, you would decrease 1 needle every 2, every 4, depending on what your pattern says. So since we are decreasing 1 needle at a time, I'm going to be using my transfer tool. I will pull, push. This is now on the other side. You can see 0. We are now on the other side, on the right side or the right half. Then I'll move my stitch to the next needle. So now I've moved this one all the way to the back. It's not going to knit because it is in non-knitting position all the way to the back. Then I will knit 1, knit 2. Again, I move forward, back, then I transfer. So as you can see, all the needles that I moved to the front here did not knit because I moved my knob to 2 or hold on position. So this is how you make your v-neck, or this is how you partially knit. I'll give you some other examples when we get to that part of the video or this series that you can use the short row method for. So now, as you can see, I have decreased one needle every two till I got to just the last needle. So you see, this side knitted, you have all these rows. We're now on the 42nd row. Remember, we started on the 14th row, so I need to move my row counter to 14. So I know I'm going from 14 to, I'm just writing that down, from 14 to 42. So I'm going to move this to 14. So we are now back on 14, and I need to switch my knob to 1 so that I can knit. So after doing that, I'm going to pass my yarn again through my yarn feeder, or hold on first. Since I'm decreasing, I'm just going to decrease this needle from the middle here. So 1, this one is already pulled, I'm just going to push it and then transfer it onto the next needle. The lash will close. I don't know if the camera picked up, but you just try to maneuver it manually to open it, just to place it on it like so. So now you're going to pass your yarn through the yarn feeder and hold it underneath like this, just so it doesn't go anywhere. Then you knit 1, 2. So you are decreasing 1 every 2. I don't like to decrease on the side of the carry, so most of the time what I do is I knit the third one or third row, then I start to decrease now every 2. So 1, 2. So you can see, this is how you make a v-neck. If you want to make a triangle bralette as well, or a triangle top, this is how you make it. So in this case, you can see that the carriage is on 43 because I knitted that extra 1 row on this side. So that extra 1 row does not really matter, so you're fine. So this is what it looks like if you are making a v-neck top or a triangle bralette. You can see that's how you shape partially. I hope this video was helpful. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to like, share, and turn on bell notifications so you don't miss the next part where I'm going to be teaching you how to cast off the two, to me, easiest method to cast off, and maybe we'll sprinkle in a few things there in that other part too, but you have to wait for that part to see. Thank you guys so much for watching again, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.